Welcome, welcome. We are here for the December morning version, or morning in the US version of Coach Office Hours. Fun to have I'll say our normal crew plus some. So let me introduce, Coach Scott Maderer, our advisory board member and plugged in all the time. Coach Chris Devin, also a member of our mastermind group, and Coach Ruben, who is my personal coach these days, one of them, and known Ruben. Yikes! I hate for us to admit how long it's been, but probably a decade and then some.
Almost.
In that longtime member of the community. So three incredible coaches, and I'm going to use every minute of it to pick y'all's brains about how you think about this time of year, for coaches specifically, or even how you're guiding your clients through this time of year, because there's different takes, and I'm curious to hear your perspectives. So, anybody wanna jump in on that topic?
I think Ruben should go first.
Thank you, Chris. I
Huh,
appreciate it.
huh.
No, I think that this is a very nice period of the year to reflect a bit, to kind of uh, pause a bit, instead of kind of to rush over everything. I think that also, let's say, work-wise, most of the people are rushing, through the end of the year. There is a lot of pressure, etc. And I think that as a coach, I really like to kind of prompt a bit let's say, my clients to say, hey, uh, please reflect a bit on how this is going right now. Okay, what are the things that went well, right? Or what are the things that you would like maybe to start changing? And I think that small prompts like these are quite, let's say, are going to trigger the reflection of the client. And I think that this is already a good sign. And then from there you can really start taking a bit of steps on the reflection from their side. I think that also, as we use chat, right? I think that you cannot also bring a huge reflection, and then so you need to go bit by bit, right? But I think that I really like to start with small things, right? And small prompts to reflect on what is going well, what went well, what you want to change. So
Love it. All right, Chris.
Yeah, so because I health coach, and my whole coaching is about helping people improve their health, fitness, and strength, and so forth. Um, this time of year is as you can tell, probably imagine, pretty, not the healthiest time of the year. So I kind of see December as a maintenance month. So it's not a it's too hard to push against the status quo. So if you can lead into December in the best position you can, then try to ride December out and try to come out where you were at the start. Don't look at improving. See if you can maintain what you've came into December with. So when you hit January, it will just carry on. You can get that where a lot of people kind of 6 weeks out, especially in America with Thanksgiving, and then 4 weeks later it's Christmas. It could be a good 6 weeks where people have taken their foot off the accelerator, not exercising as much, eating differently, and then they get to January and go, "Oh, I better get back to where I was." And they expect by the third week in January to be back in good shape and things like that. So it's kind of meet people's expectations and not make them feel that they are struggling. Just get through this period and be in the best shape you can for the beginning of the year. But it's really interesting with clients from around the world because different traditions and different way of approaching this time of year. Um, I know my clients in the southern hemisphere, it's their summer, where in northern hemisphere it's winter. So after Christmas, January and February are really easy to say, right, I'm not going to drink any more alcohol. I'm going to eat a certain way. I'm going to exercise more because the days are shorter and there's not much to do in January, February. I always thought that's like asking people in the Northern Hemisphere to do that in August. Right, for August, I want you to not drink any alcohol, eat a really good diet, exercise a lot more. We just wouldn't do it because people say, well, summer. No, I got to, you know. So I always kind of think about people in different parts of the world and what New Year's resolutions really mean and how they are actually implemented. It's very different,
I love
you know.
that. I love that
So,
perspective.
mm,
All right,
yeah.
Scott, so chime in on the finances side of things because this time of year can be tricky in that world too.
Finances and time are both, if possible, the goal is to have actually set up systems and processes long before you got to December. So hopefully they've been working with me for a while, and we've already set aside money for Christmas. We've already proactively made those decisions. We've already, time, we've already got some systems and processes and things. Now, if they come on board for the first time, kind of really doesn't matter whether it's December, whether it's January, whether it's February, whether, the time of the year has less importance because onboarding is still about refocus, gain control, set a plan. And to some extent, in some ways, kind of like what Ruben was talking about, for a lot of people, the end of the year is a natural time of reflection. So sometimes it's easier to get them to refocus and start thinking about what's really important to them. What do they want to do to set themselves up for next year? But I think for, around financial habits, a lot of times if you've worked on it for 3 or 4 months before you get to December, in some ways, December is easier. But like Chris said, a lot of times the focus isn't on growth, it's on maintenance. The goal is to not fall further behind in December, not to necessarily make huge progress for most people. Again, I'll also echo Chris. It does depend on the client and where they are and who they are and what are their goals. So there's modification of that. But broadly, most people it's a combination of reflection and maintenance. And, again, maintaining the strength of, 3 months ago when you had a plan, now actually following through with it and not going crazy the way some of us do, where, I'm only going to spend $800 on Christmas, and then $8,000 later, you're like, oh my goodness, how did that happen?
Do you think, Scott, also in the financial world, it's how big impact is seasonal influence more than calendar influence?
Yeah, it is season, but it's also calendar to some extent in that, again, if they have the end of the year versus the new year, there's some fresh start effects, there's some closing out the year effects, there's some reflection on my goal effect that's more, quote, calendar driven. But even there, it also depends on where they are in the world. And, I work with a lot of business owners. Well, some business owners, their fiscal year starts in the summer, so it's like, or in October, it's like, so their end of year from a business perspective is different than their end of year. So it's calendar, but it's not necessarily just December. It's more, where are they having those times of natural breaks and reflection? And that can vary by culture. That can vary by, are you talking to a business owner? Are you talking to a person that's not a business owner? There's all sorts of variations.
Would spending habits be different because of seasonal influence?
Sometimes. There are people that, for instance, whatever their summer is, and again, Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, different times and months, but a lot of times people take vacations in summer, or they spend more family time in summer. They go on, they want to create experiences for the kids. Are the kids in school or are the kids not in school? If you've got kids, that affects your spending patterns. Like I used to blow my budget in September, October, and for a couple of years when I first started budgeting, and I'm trying to figure out why. And finally, I realized it's because I worked at a corporate job. And what happens in September and October? All of the people show up with the little flyers from their kids selling popcorn or paper that you don't need. And it was a social construct that you bought from all the kids because they bought from your kid, and you took it in and you did. And so it wasn't, nobody told you that, but that was an unwritten rule. And it took me like a couple of years to figure out oh, duh, I just need to put that in my budget, and plan for it because it's going to happen, So it's a lot of things like that can happen, based on calendar, but it's, again, even there, that's where I was saying earlier, if I've worked with them for a while, we started to think about that sort of stuff and pick up some of that rhythm. Because the problem is a lot of times the rhythm exists, but they're not paying attention to it. It's
So
more about intentionality.
I want to highlight that because I think, particularly as habit coaches, I've heard coaches express this concern, and then I've heard clients say it sometime, like, well, they're not going to need me anymore once they develop, X habit. So Ruben, if you're teaching them, how to have a morning routine and really working with them on bedtime and morning routine and all that, I've heard coaches in similar positions say, well, how long do you keep clients? Once they get it, do they need me anymore? And what would you guys say to the folks that question whether a coach and a client being paired over a long term has value?
Ruben, you go ahead.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll
yeah.
go in
I
the
think
same
that
order.
yeah, perfect. No, I think that this is really really a good question, and no, I think that a client, especially on chat coaching, they are gonna reach out to you with certain topic in mind, right? Because I think that, I mean, we also have, set priorities for the day, certain things, right? So they are gonna kind of approach with a certain thing, and then we are gonna guide them through a small thing, right? So it's gonna be maybe, build up your morning routine, or let's say do something, right, that you can be your cornerstone, right, or your key, your habit that is gonna help you to change other things, right? And I think that the client, most of the times, they have many other things, right, that they want to change, and especially with set priorities with the day. So you start with something, and this is going to improve, and all of a sudden, something else is gonna come. And I think that it's kind of you are becoming his or her guide, right? I mean, at the end, you are gonna guide this person through certain topics. It's not like they're going just to build morning routines. I mean, some people, yes, but most of them, they really want to kind of bring sense to their day, right? So that they are owners, that they are a bit on the driver's seats, right? And then you bring this kind of ownership through certain things, right? And you give them that in a way that they can build a robust system behind. Because this is what we're trying to do, right? So we're not just, hey, this is a quick fix, and then you can just go do something else, right? So they want to be more owners of what's of their day. I mean, this is how I see it.
Great point. Chris, what would you say to that?
I would say, yeah, people come to you for a particular reason to build a habit and so forth. But I think how you build rapport, how you communicate with people can then lead on to a different type of relationship. And I know that the clients I've kept for a long period of time, it's down to that rapport. They got to know me as a person. So they might think they're buying into a habits coach, but actually what they're buying into is me. Doesn't always work because not everyone necessarily wants me. But the ones who do stick around because of that relationship. So if you can build a relationship as a coach, which is not the easiest thing to do through just text messaging, but I think that's where experience comes into it. How I now talk to people through messaging is very different than 10 years ago because I've learned what works and what doesn't work. And yes, it's different from person to person, but there's certain keystone approaches to it. And when you hit it right and you hit it off with someone, they they kind of feel that you're in their corner with them and helping them out. And it would be a lot harder without you. It's not just a habits coach anymore. It's Chris or it's Ruben or it's Scott that I'm now working with. So if you can do that as a coach, build really good rapport very quickly, then that can go beyond the initial habit that they searched you out for.
I think it's also important to realize that our life goes through cycles. It's not a linear process. And that's true of habit coaching, no matter what the habit is, coaching in general, no matter what the process is. You know, Chris does health coaching, using that as an example. At first, maybe their goal is to lose weight, but then it's, oh wait, how do I maintain it? How do I get more healthy? Oh, I'm getting older and now I'm hurting in the morning. So what do I do about, being able to not hurt so much? That's why I use that framework of refocus, gain control, set a plan. Is it's not linear. It's because once you have a plan, now life happens and you got to refocus again. Something changes. You get married, you get divorced, you have a kid, whatever, you get older. So I've had clients for 10 years or more, and I know Chris has had clients for ages, and I'm sure Ruben has as well, because it's not just, quote, check off the, like Ruben said it, it's not just check off the box, okay, I'm done, bye. Now granted, some people just stay around a few months and they move on, for whatever reason. Maybe they don't like Chris, maybe that's it. Whatever it is.
There are times when I don't like myself, Scott.
Hey, there are times when I don't like myself either. But whatever it is, so that you rub them the wrong way. Maybe they feel like they've gotten far enough along. Maybe they need a different coach or a different process or a different person, whatever it is. But just because someone moves on doesn't mean that there's not 100 other people that might stay around for years and years and years and years, because guess what? Life doesn't stay the same. If anyone's life is identical now to the way it was 3 years ago, I kind of feel sorry for you.
Yeah. I think I've got a client at the moment who stays around for a bit. We build the habit. He comes back to me and goes, I've got it going. Great. I'll be in contact with a couple of months when I've got another habit I need to do. And he's come back and re-engaged and said, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you do too good a job because they go, thanks, it's worked. I'm now doing this habit really well. And I'll get back to you in the future when I need some more help and stuff like that. And also, if you build everyone likes being missed, don't they? If someone misses you, it's a nice thing. Oh, you missed me. So if you can build that relationship, so when you're not there anymore, someone misses you, not being there, not your role, the role that you play is being missed, then that's a good indicator of good coaching, because they come back and go, oh, I realized I couldn't do it without you. And that's not saying that they're not taking responsibility and empowering themselves. And, it means that we're not an island. It means we need help and guidance and support. And a lot of the time it is just support, isn't it? They know what to do. They're doing it.
Yep.
So your role is just keep supporting
accountability.
them. Yeah, keep supporting them and saying that they're doing well. And occasionally they'll come up with a question that they need answering, and you help them with that. And so, yeah, friendships, isn't it? You build relationships.
Love it. So what about, how important do y'all think it is for coaches to be in community with other coaches? To be able to have, these kinds of conversations or navigate, challenging client situations, or just get through our own, life while we're trying to be that guide for other folks. How do y'all think about that?
I mean, I have to say that I have not been, let's say, very active, in the community for a long time. I think that, because, I mean, for different reasons, right? So, but I think that, having this connection with a group of coaches is always, I mean, it's going to always be a plus, right? Or something very, very helpful. When you are kind of alone or on your own, I think that you tend to have also a lot of doubts about, let's say, how you are doing things, how, I mean, you get the feedback from your customer or your clients, right? But I think that you are also missing a bit a reference, of your other colleagues, and then you tend to have maybe judgments or let's say reference points that are not correct. And then when you go with other coaches, I think that you you really bring that into more, how to say that, real place, right? So I think that you really have a better reference points, and then you can judge a bit, hey, this could be done maybe in a different way. You get other inputs. So I see that very valuable, even if, I think that personally I have not been very active, right?
Yeah, I agree with what Ruben's saying. I can't speak on behalf of other coaches. Everyone has different experiences and what they want out of being in a community. But because I work on my own, I don't have a colleagues or a staff that I employ or things like that. Coming on calls like this and just talking to other people about coaching and issues and so forth is really important, helpful. And also it stops you using your clients as the sounding board,
Yep.
which can be that's not what they paid you for.
Oh, I
So
like it.
if I can have a release valve somewhere and get things off my chest or just talk about things generally, I don't have to use that time because if you are busy with a lot of clients and your whole day is booked up with calls or in-person sessions, um, you don't really have anyone else to talk to because your time is taken up with these people. So you start using them as
Mm,
saying, oh, you know, not moaning about your day, but you know what I mean? It's just,
yeah. Oh, that's a
yeah.
powerful, that's a I mean, you hit me with some conviction right there on what can happen if we're not proactive in this space. So Scott, I don't envy you following
Just
following that
to
that
add
talk.
on, sorry, to add on, Kendra, is because I've had clients for many years, it can become a friendship
Mhm.
because you hear about their lives and what they're telling you, and sometimes you can then fall into the trap of, oh, it's just friends talking. And actually it's not, it's coach and coachee. And and keep it to that relationship. Not saying you don't share things, but
Sure.
at the same
Sure.
time know where the boundary is and so forth. So
Well, it's also kind of the intent behind it. You're sharing things because as a coach, you've evaluated that sharing this story or this tidbit or this insight is helpful to the client as opposed to I'm just having coffee with a friend and unloading, you know. So it is, yeah, it's the insight or the intent behind it sometimes. No, I agree 100% with Chris. That I think there's three things. I mean, one is that it gives you an outlet so that you're not kind of dependent on your clients for that. Two is it gives you the ability to bounce things off of people that kind of get it naturally because they're coaches too. And so, because sorry, coaching business a little different than some other businesses. So even if you're networking with other business owners, you're not necessarily talking to other coaches and having the ability to go, okay, this is what was going on, what do you think, and have someone come back and go, well, here's what I would try. Okay, maybe that's a new idea or maybe it's exactly what you did, and either way you feel better. And then the third is the idea of um I think in all cases community helps you develop accountability where just the fact that I got to see Chris next week means I've got a certain amount of responsibility or accountability to Chris, or I've got to we got to get on a call with Ken. The same way our clients do. So coaches need coaches, whether that's groups that they hang out with, or whether that's hiring a one-on-one coach, or that you've got to plug into community. And there's good and bad about groups, and there's good and bad about individual. It's not like one of those is perfect and the other one's not. But you've got to find some way to have that community around you, or else you tend to stall out and burn out. I see coaches burn out when they do it on their own for too long. Where if they surround themselves with community, they tend to last longer, from my observation.
It's funny, the same exact principles that we tell
It's
clients
the same stuff we would tell our
in
clients.
creating positive change in their lives is the exact same, principles that we need
It,
to
it,
sustain.
it turns out that the frameworks are the frameworks, and
Right.
the science is the science, and the brain chemistry is the brain chemistry. We're all humans too, so it turns out facts are facts.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to hit you guys with one last question, and I'm going to ask the question, then I'm going to say something. So I give you a few minutes to think about it. But I'm curious if you guys each have a magic wand that you can wave in 2026 for your coaching businesses, specifically to your coaching businesses, or a genie that you could make one wish. What would be your 2026 wish or magic wand request? If you could think of something, and it can involve the platform or not involve the platform, but certainly I'm listening for as we shape our priorities, now that we've got our infrastructure and our team rocking and rolling, and we really can start granting more wishes from the platform perspective. I'm curious what would be at the top of the list for each of y'all.
I'm glad Ruben's going first.
Yes, so I will give you some time to think while I go. Very good. I think that was quite clear in my mind. I think that I have been really thinking about this for already some time, right? And I really like helping people, in things like, setting priorities for the day. But however, I think that maybe you have heard me, Kendra, I know that is challenging, right? This is very challenging because this is a habit where people come with sometimes, kind of red alert, so, hey, I need, in situations which are very difficult to deal with, right? And expecting a magic wand that is going to solve everything, from today to tomorrow, right? So this is challenging, right? As for the person, for the coach, and I have been really kind of thinking for a while on. I would like to make sure that I have a kind of I don't know how to call it, right? But a program that is helping people um, to go. I mean, I have a program there, but I really want to make it kind of really the signature program, right? Where, it's about self-leadership, so that you really take ownership of how do you deal right with important things. How do you go to work and then you make sure that you understand what you have to do, how to tackle that in the best possible way from the personal perspective. No matter if you are someone that are, a manager managing 20 people or just yourself, right? At the end, self-leadership, I think this is the foundational. um, I mean, this is the foundation of everything else, right? And I see that I would like to make sure that this is a program that, really um, kind of, yeah, shines, during 2026. For me, it would be fantastic because that I will really see, that I'm able to bring something that I see very valuable for many people, right? That is gonna give them really the tools, right? And then the processes to make sure that they take ownership, right? They are self-leaders, that they can really progress in their lives, and their work, etc. A bit more with more, let's say, impact and setting priorities for your day, right? So this is what I would like to, this is my wish for 2026.
I love it.
Uh, I agree with Ruben. You shouldn't rely on luck or magic to get things done. You have to take responsibility and so. But as we're playing the game
Thank
of
you.
this,
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
going to check. Do I get a magic wand and a genie, or is it a magic wand or a genie?
Chris,
Just checking.
you could have both. You could
Okay,
have
good.
both.
So I'm very much in control the controllables. Don't focus on things you have no control over. But with my magic wand, I would change the government in my country to a more business-friendly government. That makes it a lot easier. Okay.
I think
And
that's
I
going to
think,
take the genie.
yeah. Let's go with Jenny on that. And I'll let her get on with it and come back to me on how she's getting on or he's getting on. With the magic wand, I would have it so I have a system in place that creates new connections with people. So I'm always a system that just allows me to connect with people constantly. And so every day I'm meeting someone new and engaging with them and see if there's anything magical that happens from that. That's what I want for my business in 2026. And so if I don't get a magic wand, I know the things I need to be doing. I just got to go and do it. I have the courage to go and do it. Yeah, it's
I like
a new
it.
government and unbreakable system of uh, creating connections.
I like it. All right. Scott, going last. This is tough.
I'm already doing it. It's already stuff that I'm working on, like Chris. I'm kind of in a phase of rebuilding because I've moved last year and, kind of rebuilding connections and networking and doing all of that. So I definitely am going to keep doing that in the new year. I'm also doing more speaking. So I've kind of got to focus on doing more speaking events next year. I've already got one booked and trying to book a couple of more. So I'm working on that. And so that's also on my wish list, so to speak, or my magic wand list. Obviously, like Chris said, if I had a big magic wand, I'd change the whole world. But I'm gonna leave that off because the genie. Well, not also to mention the fact that if I made the world the way I want it to be, then I'm sure there'd be a lot of other people that would be unhappy with that. So we're not going to have dueling genies on that one. I'm old enough to admit that. um, and then I'm working on another book, so I'd like to be able to get further along on that and get that kind of to the points where my goal is to have it published in 2 years. So that means I need to really work on it next year and have it put together so that I can have the time, because it takes about 18 months from manuscript to publish is about 18 months. So if I want it out in 27, that means I got to work on it next year. So putting that on. I know that's none of those. From a platform perspective with Coachdotme too, I think you kind of put that in there a little bit. I'm excited because I know we've been having conversations. Chris participated the other day with talking to the developer, and we've kind of got things from a platform perspective where now it's got a good foundation, and I'm interested in seeing us add more content features, because like Chris was talking about, a way of making connections with people. I could see that as being really useful for making connections with people as coaches, so ways that we can continue to develop and highlight the benefits of coaching for the community that we've already created, if that makes sense. Because I still run into people that are on the app that have no idea that there's even coaches on the app, even though I think it's pretty in their face. They don't know. So I'm always amazed with the ability of people to ignore information. We give them, maybe they all need to take Ruben's class.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I've been working on, we're recording some kind of year-end updates in the next few days to kind of share. And as Scott said, I've been spending a ton of time with Pedro, our developer, and it's fun. Every meeting now, he almost always starts with, "I've got good news," which means, he's figured out something, which can I tell you that for the last 2 years up until about 6 weeks ago, that was not how we got to start most of our most of our meetings. It was like, oh no. So
most of his meetings started with, "Well, this is still broken."
yes, yes. Or how do we triage, something. So I think
Pedro's awesome. For those of you that are listening to the recording, send a thank you note to Pedro. He's
yes,
awesome.
Pedro at Coachdotme, tell him he's amazing. Yeah, he has really we talk about AI and the humans versus AI. Pedro is absolute living proof that humans utilizing AI in because when we hired him, he's like, "I don't do apps. I've never done apps." Pedro has taught himself apps in 2025, and both of our apps, if you look at the development history, you'll see 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, 2025, in that. And it's because they're tricky, but Pedro has really taught himself in using some of the tools available. He absolutely inspires me in what he's able to learn in a short amount of time that really stumped a lot of folks. So um I'll give a little bit of a preview. I think my magic wand would be, and really not for the year, I would say for the first quarter of 2026. The content features are high on the list. Being able to send audio messages natively to our clients is high on the list, and improving our coach dashboards, the information that we have available to coaches, um, ideally in real time. And uh, active coaches saw that on the coach dashboard. Our payment reports are now part of your dashboard, which has been a request as far back as like 2016 or 2017. So to have that achieved is cool. And now we're trying to do more with all of the different things, the information that coaches need to run their business as well, whether it's discount codes or page views or sources of traffic. All of that we're working to have really robust. And I love the word connections, and how do we facilitate more connections. I think that's an excellent theme. But that's probably our first quarter roadmap. If we pull off all three of those in the first quarter, we'll be ready for the next round. So my message to coaches would be, start dreaming again. You've got a platform and a team that's ready to grant some wishes and extend the surface area of luck, right? We can't control luck, but we can do things that give us the opportunity to experience more luck based on how many seeds we're planting. And I think we're finally in a position to really facilitate that and be a platform and community and movement that speaks to the power of habit science and coaching, and how it can really help people change their lives. And I love, Ruben, your, take ownership, of that and what to do with it. Okay, we've got ownership. We're in the driver's seat. Now what? And we can help answer those questions. And I want to thank each of you, just personally and professionally. You've all played an incredible role in what is it? Overnight success takes a decade. I think we've been rowing at this boat together for a really long time, and it's nice to finally feel like the boat is healthy, and more folks are rowing in sync. So I appreciate you and y'all and other coaches that have hung in, through some challenging times, and ready to kind of launch again with us now that things are healthy. So
You're welcome.
all
It's
right.
been a good year.
Kendra, I really appreciate, the energy that you are putting into it, right? And I think that this is fantastic, right? To see that you are putting all this energy, with significant effort. But I think that is, yeah, you are creating a fantastic, ship that is helping us to go, together with Coachdotme. So thank you.
Well, I believe what we do changes lives.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, I believe the work that we do makes people's lives better. I saw it in my mom in 2013 and 2014, and now, my mom is 70 years old and as healthy as she's ever been. And to get to experience that and know that this habit science and this coaching, made that possible is an incredible motivator for me, just to see like a living embodiment of how well this stuff can work is pretty cool.
I agree.
All right. Well, if you are in our mastermind, shameless plug, we meet at this time every week. All coaches at the pro membership level Actually, anybody can join, but it's included in the pro membership level. So we certainly invite folks to reach out and join us, and you get the benefit of connecting with other coaches and really getting that alignment every week. So would love if you want to start before the new year. We're meeting every week, and or if you want to join us in January to kick off your new year, consider this your invitation. And if you'd like more information, email us coaching@coach.me and we'll get you squared away.
Fantastic.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, and we'll see folks again soon.
Merry Christmas.
See you later.